Shalom again, Israel. We are very, very happy to be in your midst this morning. We are thankful to our Heavenly Father for keeping us throughout the week, because we know that as humans, we have no idea as to what's going on around us and whether or not we're going to be here tomorrow. So I must say, thanks to the Heavenly Father for keeping me during the past week. This morning, we are going to continue with our lesson from the book of Enoch, and we're going to do a little study on part 3. So far, I think we have done quite a bit. Believe me, when I started this lesson, I didn't know it was going to be that large, because when I started, there were not too many people that I could, let's say, interview on the internet to see exactly what they believe. So it took me quite a while, over a year, to piece it together and to test it, to try it and all of that, so that I could have it as a presentation. Now, all of these things, again, it's not things that I knew or have knowledge of or was brought up into. These are things that I heard about, and questions were asked to me that I couldn't answer. So therefore, I hate to be at a place where I cannot answer a question. So I went ahead and studied. I took some time to study it and see if I can make it clear to myself. And while doing that, I figure I might as well, I went ahead and do it in a presentation form, that if I have to show somebody else, I would have it. So therefore, this is what we are looking at today. This is not something that was handed to me, and I am handing it to you. This is something I had to dig up myself. As a matter, I am still thinking if I should do another part, which would probably take a little while again. There's a few things that are not clear to me that I need to try to find out, but as time go by, I'll decide whether or not I should go ahead and continue with an additional part 4. So let us go to our presentation. That's the wrong one here. Okay, here it is. Brother Yona, I'm not sure if you can see this. I think I
share your screen.
Okay, I thought I did. Let's go back there.
For some reason I'm not seeing.
Okay, let's try again. I thought I did, but maybe I didn't.
Let me try something here.
Okay.
All right, there it is.
Okay, it's up now. Great.
Just gotta close out your slides on the side, and
slides on the side.
You're using your PowerPoint.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we'll hit that little thing on the bottom, the third one from. Go down to the bottom where it says 100%.
Down in the bottom.
Yeah. Change it over to.
You're talking about this one here?
Yes. Right. Next to the 100%, there's a little thing to click on to change it over to presenter's view.
Oh, well, I probably brought up the wrong one if you see in this one.
Yeah, I'm seeing that.
Okay, that's the wrong one. Let's
get the PDF instead. I'm seeing your PowerPoint.
Okay. Let's go again, share screen. And
Okay, that's all right. There you go.
Okay, that's the one. All right. As I was saying earlier, we are going to begin our presentation with the third part of this lesson. And in there, we are going to dig down deep, because we have to be able to see which is the calendar that Yahuwah has given us. Some say it's the Gregorian calendar. Others say it is the Enoch calendar. But we are saying it's neither one. So I have to be able to prove that to you today. So again, get your books together. We're going to do an exercise online also, so that you can see the results for yourself. I don't want anybody to say, well, he already set the numbers and so on. So, you know how it is. So we're going to let you set your own numbers and see your own results. Again, as we begin, I want to encourage everyone at the sound of my voice that we should all be studious of our books. Sometimes I know it's a little funny when we are asked a question and we don't have an answer. Although we cannot answer every question there is, we ought to do our best to answer as much as we can. You must know your calendar. It is very important. If you don't, then I guess anybody can tell you whatever they like. And because you have no idea, you have to accept it. If you know your calendar, you will know that a lot of things that is being taught is not so. And again, we're going to look at the calendars today and we're going to compare. We're going to do some comparisons. We're going to do some numbers, a little math. I didn't make it too hard because math is not something that I like and never did. But we still need to be able to know it to get along. So let us begin our presentation. We'll begin where we stopped last week. We're going to start with Exodus 12, verse 2.
Exodus 12:2. This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you.
When is the first month of the year? Exodus 13, verse 1.
Exodus 13:1. And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, verse 4, this day came he out of the month of the month of Abib.
Okay, so various places we have Yahuwah telling Moses when the year is to begin. Now, as we read that, we see it is Aviv or Abib, H24, okay? And let's continue. What is Aviv? Because a lot of people don't know. Most people believe that it is a date on your calendar, but it is not. It is not a date. It is a season. It is a time, okay? And this is out of the Blue Letter Bible. I looked it up and it says fresh, young barley ears. We're talking about the barley. The month of ear forming. Okay, so the ears are forming at that time. The greening of the crop. Of growing green, Abib. The month of Exodus, the children came out of Egypt, and also the time of the Passover. Actually, it's the same time. Moses told them this is the beginning of the month, and he said on the 14th day, you're going to keep Passover unto Yahuwah. Okay, so this can happen in March or in April. Okay, like I said, it's not a date. We have to wait for the luminaries to tell us when it is. We cannot go into the encyclopedia or any calendar that will tell you when it is. If you look at many of the calendars, you could look 20 years from now and they could tell you when the claim Aviv is. But we know that's not true because the heavens determines that, not anyone. Okay? And let's prove that. Why do the Enochian calendar believers reject or ignore the green heirs of Aviv? Why, while I was doing this, I was trying to find out the answer to that question, but nobody gave it. Up to last night, I was reading an article, and when they got to the green heirs of Aviv, the guy said, well, I don't have the time to go into this. And when I look at it, the reason why they don't want to acknowledge it or ignore it or reject it is because it immediately shut down the equinox or their equinox theory. Okay, let me explain what that means. It puts the equinox to bed. Actually, it kills it. If you put it to bed, you could pick it up later. But it kills the equinox theory. And let me continue to show you why. Because Aviv can fall in the month of March or April, like we said, and we saw the definition. The equinox can never take place in April. So they know that, so why talk about it? Because they are not going to be able to explain this. The Aviv can be between 2 months, March or April. Sometimes it will be in March, another time it will be in April. And like we said earlier, this is defined by the luminaries, the earth, the time it takes to come back in place at the beginning of the year. Nobody can tell you that. The only person, the Father has set up the luminaries and the earth to work together, and they can tell you what time that will be. Okay? This can only happen if they were using a solar lunar calendar. If they were using the equinox, it would be wrong. If they were using the Christian calendar of today, it will be wrong. If you were using whatever calendar that you term is the best, it would be wrong because it's not a date. Okay? Why don't Israel keep Yahuwah's new moon and the true Sabbaths today? Okay? Let's look at Hosea 2:11.
Hosea 2:11. I will also cause all her mirth to cease, her feast days, her new moons, and her Shabbat, and all her solemn feasts. Okay, hold it there. Let's just look at what this is saying. Yahuwah is saying, not me, not the church, not Brother Yonah, but our Bibles is saying that the Father has this written down for us. He will cause all of Israel's mirth, the good times, the laughing, and so on, to come to an end. Also, her feast days, her new moons, her Sabbaths, and all of the solemn feast. Now, while we were studying the previous calendars, I think the Gregorian, we mentioned that there are those who tell you from the beginning of creation until now, the Sabbath has always been Saturday. And there is no lost time. Forget about that lunar stuff. Nothing has been lost. So the question is, how do they explain this verse? The Father said that he will cause it. So what are we saying? He didn't cause it? I think he had, because as we are walking out of the darkness, we are very confused as to what day is the Sabbath. If you ask that question, you get about 20 different answers. What day is the Sabbath? You get a big fight. When is the new moon? Forget it. What new moon? What is that? Nobody have any idea. Her Sabbaths. Oh, they said these are nailed to the cross. We don't need to do these things anymore. Why are you burdening yourself with the Sabbaths? And all of the solemn feast, all of the feasts that we we say that is too hard. They are nailed to the cross. Instead, we exchange them for those of the heathen. So our Bible is telling us that he is the one who has caused this thing to happen. But again, he is telling us in the last days that he would call us from all over the world and bring us together. And then we will start to understand these things. We'll see why the Sabbath is important, why it has to be kept, why it wasn't nailed to the cross, and so on. Let's continue. Jubilee 6:35.
Jubilee 6:35. For I know, and from henceforth shall I declare it unto thee, and it is not of my own devising, for the book lieth written before me, and on the heavenly tables the divisions of days is ordained, lest they forget the feast of the covenant and walk according to the feast of the Gentiles after their error and after their ignorance.
Okay, so that is what we spoke about earlier. Let's continue. We could jump to 36 because we did that.
Okay.
Jubilee 36 and 37.
36. For there will be those who will assuredly make observations of the moon. Now it disturbeth the season and cometh in from year to year, 10 days too soon. 37. For this reason the years will come upon them when they will disturb the order and make an abominable day, the day of testimony, an unclean day, a feast day, and they will confound all the days, the holy with the unclean, and the unclean day with the holy. For they will go wrong as to the months and the Shabbats and the feasts of Jubilees.
Okay, let's continue and I'll comment on that. Do not use the moon for observing anything. Most people reading Jubilee 6:35 to 37, which we just read, will teach you that the passage is saying, do not use the moon for counting towards anything. And if you do, whatever you are counting to will result, the results will be wrong. The question is this what this verse is really saying? Reading the very chapter, Noah used the moon for determining his months and his feasts. The same chapter. Why would the Father give his instructions concerning this and then later say if the moon is used, they will go wrong as to the months, the Sabbaths, the feasts, and Jubilees? Well, we have been telling you from the beginning of this presentation that you cannot use any luminary by itself for observing Yahuwah's feast times or feast. What verse 35, 36, and 37 is saying is compared to the cycle of the sun, the moon falls short by 10 days. So if you calculate any feast using the moon by itself, compared to the sun, you will fall short by 10 days, okay? We will explain that a little more as we go. Now these verses I put here, these are the verses that the Enochians will select to tell you that the year is 354, okay? Jubilee 6:30 and 32.
Jubilee 6:30. And all the days of the commandment will be 52 weeks of days, and these will make the entire year complete. 31. Thus is it's engraved, excuse me, let's do it again. Verse 31. Thus it is engraved and ordained on the heavenly tables, and there is no neglecting this commandment for a single year or from year to year. Verse 32. And command thou the children of Israel that they observe the years according to this reckoning, 364 days, and these will constitute a complete year. And they will not disturb its time from its days and from its feasts. For everything will fall out in them according to their testimony, and they will not leave out any day, nor disturb any feast.
Okay. According to the book of Enoch, there is a year of 364 days. There is also a year of 354 days. And the same book talks about a year of 365.25 days. As you read the book of Enoch, we see there's a solar year consisting of 365.25 days, which is what we are using today for the Gregorian calendar. There is also a solar year consisting of 364 days, which is what the Enoch calendar system is using. And there's a lunar year consisting of 354 days. Why then do you ignore the year of 365.25 and the year of 354 days and decide that the year is 364 days? Okay. As we look at all of these different calendations here, those three specifically we are looking at, none of these calendar days by themselves equals a complete year. You must add time or correct those calendars at some point. And we're going to show you that in a little while. The 364 days, the 354, and the 365.25, they all have to work together to give you the end of year. Or what I'm saying is that if you intercalate them properly, you're going to end up the same place. So the 364 is not better than the 354, neither is the 354 better than the 365.25. Because again, looking at the 365.25, if you use that for a year, it's still going to be short, okay? And you still have to have a makeup day of 366 days to correct it, okay? So all of these calendars here, at some point, needs correction. You cannot use them by themselves, okay? They all have to work together. As I read the book of Enoch, I mean, I'm not an expert on it, but I will still continue my studies on it. I don't think Enoch is saying this calendar is preferred over that one, or the 354 is preferred over the 365, but they all work together. But they need to be intercalated properly so that they all come together at the end of the period or at the end of the year, okay? The book of the secrets of Enoch, this is where you're going to find the 365.25 days, I think. Let's read.
And again, those men led me away to the western parts and showed me 6 great gates, open corresponding to the eastern gates, opposite to where the sun sets, according to the number of days, 365 and a quarter.
Continue.
3. And it goes through the western gates in the order and the number of the eastern, and accomplishes the 365 and a quarter days of the solar year, while the lunar year has 354, and there are waiting to it 12 days of the solar circle, which are the lunar impacts of the whole year.
Okay, so there you are. Enoch is still telling us about a 365-day year. And I'm telling you, if you use 365 days, 365.25 days, your calendar is still going to be short. It still has to be corrected. So as we read this, we have to keep in mind that none of those calendars, as it is said, are complete by themselves, okay? We will talk about that a little more as we go. Enoch's calendar, well, that's what they say. Since most people reading Jubilee 630 to 32 believe that this is the instructions for the sun only Enoch calendar, please open the book and show where Enoch or any other person that is use this calendar to keep time or celebrate feasts or seasons. Now, why would Enoch be given a calendar, let's say, of 364 days? I keep saying 54. 364 days. And the Father is saying, Enoch, this is what you must use in your lifetime. Teach the children of Israel to keep their feasts by that, okay? Yet still, when we read the whole book of Enoch, there's not one example where Enoch used that calendar to do anything, or well, a so-called calendar. We read all of the books, Jubilees, we read whichever soever book you want to read. It is not mentioned, not once. Now, the question we should be thinking of is why? Is it a secret calendar that Enoch was supposed to keep by himself, but according to the reading, he was supposed to show it to the children of Israel? So again, I don't have all the answers. I could only give you what I have come to understand. Let's look at just the same chapter. Actually, the same chapter that we read earlier that is saying that Jubilee 630 to 32, where the instructions was given to Enoch. We're going to look at the same chapter, but we're going to look down at verse 1 and so on, and verse 22 and see what it says. Okay, let's see.
Verse 1, and on the new moon of the 3rd month, he went forth from the ark and built an altar on that mountain. Verse 22, for I have written in the book of the first law, in that which I have written for thee, that thou shouldest celebrate it in its season, one day in the year. And I explain to thee its sacrifice, that the children of Israel should remember and should celebrate it throughout their generation in this month, one day in every year.
Okay, so there we see in the same chapter, nothing is spoken about, well, observe the sun and then when whatever happened, when it's red, or there's nothing saying, nothing, no instructions given to you that is based on a 364-day calendar. Instead, what we see, the moon is used again to mark a certain time. Let's continue. Verse 23.
Verse 23. And on the new moon of the 1st month, and on the new moon of the 4th month, and on the new moon of the 7th month, and on the new moon of the 10th month are the days of remembrance, and the days of the seasons in the 4 divisions of the year. These are written and ordained as a testimony forever.
Okay, so there you have it. Nothing to tell you when the sun is hot or whatever. All we have here is using the moon for to tell you what time it is. Since using the moon will steer us wrong, let us disregard the above mentioned verses, the same ones we read, chapter 6. If we do that, now please explain how the sun signals must be used to tell time and observe our feast. The lunar year has to trail the solar, or the solar year, or the moon has to trail the sun in order to get the phases or the proper phases that we see on the moon. They cannot be the same, nor can they use either one by themselves, okay? So what I'm saying here is that one has to lag. If the sun and the moon does everything together, then I guess everything will be confused. So based on where the sun is at the time of the year, it reflects on the moon and we can see what needs to be done. Now, again, that is why we are saying you cannot use one instrument by itself, Because when you're reading what's going on with the moon, you're actually reading the sun also. Okay, so when you look at the crescents or the lighted part, the full moon, that is telling you also about the sun. Okay, so they work together. You cannot divide them and make one, for your instructions. Enoch 74:32.
Verse 32, on that day, the night decreases, and amongst 2 9 parts, and the day to 9 parts, and the night is equal to the day, and the year is equal as to its days 364.
Since it is the Enoch calendar of 364 days mentioned in the above verse, you prefer to use, okay? Since this is what most people prefer to use, please give examples where the calculations is used anywhere in this book or any other. Okay, so if this is the book that we ought to use, or this is the yearly instructions that we need to use, then we should be finding that all over the place. We are saying it is the moon that you have to use, and that is all over the place. And again, it is not the moon by itself, because the phases are a reflection of the sun. The fact that Enoch calendar believers keep their Sabbath on different days, some keep a Sabbath on Wednesday, actually it's Thursday, others keep their Sabbaths on Saturday. Some begin the days at sundown, while others begin in the morning, shows a lack of information as to how exactly this calendar system is to be used. Okay, so you don't have a uniform teaching. There's a lot of different things that they teach, and we're going to look at some of it. Let us prove all things, not by going to my pastor, but we're going to use our Bible to prove all things. In Enoch, the book of Enoch, chapter 4, verse 7, and Jubilees 6:38, states that there should be 364 days in a year. How can we know if this is true? Let's prove whether or not it is true or false. Unless some changes, we said that in our first presentation, I think, unless some changes were made periodically to the Essenes 364-day calendar, the time of the observance of the annual feast would get out of sync with the seasons. Just like I think when we did the Julian calendar, we saw that it went out of sync, and then they had to add 3 months to correct it. So what we're saying here is that if you use the Enoch calendar of 364 days to make a complete year, eventually it's going to go out of sync, and we're going to show you that. The Essenes would end up observing the spring festivals in winter, just like we saw with the Julian calendar. It would take only a few decades for notable calendar slippage to occur. Let's examine this closely. Okay, so let's put a link here for you, and I want you to observe this with me. I'll ask Leah to drop the link in the chat, and then I will wait for you a few seconds so that we can do it together, because my results might be different than yours. And okay, so we're going to be going to this website. Let's go to Time and Date website. That is, for those that cannot see it, www.timeanddate, TIMEANDDATE.com/date, DATE. Then you want to put another /DATEADD .html. Okay, so this is where we need to go. Those of you who are on a tablet or phone or that can go there, I would like us to go there. Let me just minimize this and then switch, and I'll go with you. Okay, so here it is. Let me switch my screens. Okay, so we should be time and date. And as you get there, I'll just tell you, let us begin with last year, 17, so that we can see the results for ourselves, okay? So on your left here where it says start date, you want to put the day here, the 20th. We're going to use the vernal equinox of last year. And that happened in March 20th, and we're going to use the year 2017. Okay, so that's the only thing you're going to put on your left. We cannot add the years over here because it will do 365.25, and that's not what we want. Okay, on the end here where it says days, we're going to put 364 because that is considered the days that are in the Enoch's calendar. Okay, so after you do this, you want to go back to your left, calculate new date, which is in green. If you click that, it will give you a new page, and then in the bottom of your page down here, you will notice that for this year, the equinox would happen on March 19, 2018. Now, we all know that this isn't true. So here from the first year, your calendar is already starting to slip, okay? This was supposed to be on the 20th of March, according to the book of Enoch and those that teach it. Again, let me start over for those just getting there. When you get to the website, you need to go to start date. We're gonna put our start date. The day is first, the 20th, then we have the month, which is March. And we're gonna start with 2017 so we can see it in real time, what happens. The calendar is 364 days, not 65. Calendar is 364 days, make up the year. Okay, so when we finish, we click calculate, new date. In the bottom of your screen, it will show you what happens or when, according to the Enoch calendar, is supposed to be the equinox for this year. And according to that, it says March 19, 2018. We know this is wrong because it's supposed to happen on the 20th. So there you see that the calendar is already starting to slip after one single year. Okay, let us see what happens if we put 10 years. So to get 10 years, all you have to do is multiply 364 times 10. You're going to get 3640. So you put here 3640. Now that's equivalent to days. Then we go over here and calculate new date. And in 10 years, we'll see what happened with the Enoch calendar. You're not going to get March 20th again in 2017 or 2027. You are now at March 8th, 2027. Okay? So I'm just showing you how the calendar is slipping as we go through time. And that should tell you that this calendar is not true. It doesn't work in real time. In order for this to work, you have to correct it every year, not every 10 years. Every year you have to intercalate it. Okay, let's go again. Let's look at 50 years. If we do 50 years, we need to do 50 years times 364 would give you 18,200. 18,200. Now, don't worry about what you're seeing on the screen up here. It is going to show you 8,200, but the 1 is there. If you go back, you will see that the 1 is there. It's just that you could only show 4 figures or 4 numbers at a time. All right, so let's calculate, what did we say, 50 years? And let's see what happened. Now look, we are back in January now. We have left March, and now we are slipping. The equinox in 50 years would be Monday, the 17th of January, 2067. Okay, so this is how this is slipping, and that is telling us in real time that's impossible. Let's do another one. Let's do 75 years. 75 years, there would be 75 times 364 would be 27,300. So you'd have 27,300 days. I have one too much. 27,300, which is correct. Now let's click it and see what happens. Let's go to the bottom of your screen and see what happens to the Enoch calendar. So here's what it is. If we did 75 years into the future, your equinox should be Monday the 17th, December 2091. Now you can also do that with your Gregorian calendar because there's nothing to figure out. You just put the numbers in there and it does the same thing. But you cannot do it when you use the lunar calendar or the luminaries all together. This is only using the sun. Okay, so let me go back to our lesson. You can play around with that on your spare time. I just wanted to show you that what they are telling us is not so. For many years, we have all types of people fooling us, and we have to be able to see for ourselves that these things are not true. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen again. Okay, so we could just look at this again. This is what we did. We started with the spring equinox here, which is March 20th, 2017. And then we put in 364 days, which is equal to or equivalent to 1 of Enoch's years. And we saw that the calendar began to slip. The equinox for the following year was on the 19th instead of the 20th, okay? So you see it for yourself, or you can if you go there and do it for your own self. And here again, we did 10 years, and the calendar slipped again, and we have a result of Monday, the 8th of March. So there you see it. The equinox is supposed to be on the 20th. So how do they explain that? I don't know. Somebody is playing around with the calendar somehow and telling us, well, the feast will be on this date and the equinox will be on this date. But as you see for your own self, that's not true. It cannot be. And we did, over here, we did 15 years, and we see the results again. March 1, the calendar is slipping. And let's see if I had it. Okay, I have another one here. We also did 50 years on this demonstration. I didn't want to just do it and show you because somebody might say, well, he can put any number he wants in there to get the results he wants. So you do it your own self, you can see the results for your own self. Okay, so I did 100 years in this one instead of 75, and we all the way in November. Okay, so some correction has to be done someplace. Somebody has to be holding the string someplace to give you the results that they want. Let us do something else. Let us compare the true calendar, which they say is the Enoch's calendar. Let's trade places. Let's say that the Enoch calendar is the true calendar that was given to man, and we should be using it today, okay? And we're going to put it against the so-called lunatic calendar, because that's what they say it is. They say we are all loonies for following that calendar. Let the Bible and Apocrypha speak only, not man. So let's do that. Let's see what the Bible and Apocrypha has to say. Before we do that, I just want to do this slide. Man will tell you that the lunar calendar is only 354 days and was not the calendar in use in our Bibles. All references used in our Bible add to a 360-day year or a 30-day month. Yet they still end up with a year of 364. That one is a little puzzling, but sometimes we don't take into consideration certain things when we speak. Intercalary months. That is a word that confuses a lot of people, but it shouldn't confuse us. As we said earlier, the lunar calendar will shift. Your spring will not always be in March, sometimes it will be in April. And that is not determined by a man, that is determined by the heavenly bodies. What they don't understand is that along the years, the sun, the moon, and stars compensates for this time. An intercalary month is added every 3 years, not by man, but by the luminaries themselves. They all work together, loved ones. They don't run and leave the other behind. They work together, they know where they need to be at a certain time of the year, and they begin the year together, okay? We have an example here.
If the barley is not ready in the month of March, it means that spring has not yet begun. 30 days or 13 months is added to the year, and this is where the sun, moon, and stars all become synchronized.
Okay, so a 30-day extra month or 13th month is added to the calendar, okay, and everything is synced automatically. Now, sometimes you will notice in the spring that the foliage is not quite what it should be, or the fruits are not springing, the flowers are not coming out. So that tells you that the spring is not quite there, okay? So sometimes we have to pay attention to see what is going on. Most people will laugh at this idea when speaking of the lunar calendar. If you want to see people laugh, just tell them that, or they're very happy to hear that. They laugh at you, and if you don't know what you're saying, you actually will walk away feeling very bad. But do you know that every calendar under the sun has intercalary or make-up days? A perfect example is the current Roman calendar.
Have you heard of adding an extra day to form a leap year every 4 years? February 29, 366 a day. Not so funny now, is it?
Okay, so here we have it. When you try to explain, let's say the lunar calendar to people, and they say, man, that is pure nonsense. Why do you have to add anything, or why do you have to manipulate the calendar and all of these things? They do not understand. You don't have to manipulate, you don't have to add, you don't have to do anything. You just pay attention to the seasons and you're going to see it for your own self. There's no adding, okay? But when you tell them now, do you know that the calendar that you're now using to find your Sabbaths, to identify your Sabbaths, and so on, the calendar that you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, every month or every week you use that calendar to identify your Sabbath. Do you realize that every 4 years you have to add 1 day to it and it becomes 366 days? And you're going to get a little silence because most people don't know that. They just look at the calendar and they say, oh, February has 29 days this month, so I can celebrate my birthday every 4 years. Okay, so I don't have to say much more about this so that you could understand. Some say that the Enoch calendar has no makeup days. Is that so? Verse 11. Enoch 28, Enoch 82, verse 11.
The 4 leaders who divided the 4 parts of the year enter first, and after them the 12 leaders of the others who divided the months, and for the 360 days there are heads over thousands who divided the days, and for the 4 intercalary days there are the leaders which sunder the 4 parts of the year.
Okay, so here it is. As you look at the Enoch calendar, you see that they have 30 days 3 times, or you have 90 days per season. Okay, that's what we have here, which equals to 360 days. They have it in the middle. Now, if you notice, we said also that at the end of every month, you add 1 day. Okay, so what is this 1 day that we added? It's the makeup day, intercalary day. Okay, so those who laughed at us because we say that should be laughing at them their own self, because they are following a calendar that they hardly understand. So all calendars, every calendar you can think of under the sun has makeup days, because men don't know what the earth is going to do. Okay, sometimes we read earlier that it slows down, sometimes it picks up speed, and the sun has to be lined up in certain places. The moon has to be in the right place. The stars have to be in the right place before they all declare, let us start the year. Okay, if it is a joke to some, that's fine, but you our people have to be able to understand and to know these things. Okay, so let's continue. Let's go into the calendar themselves. We're going to prove the calendar, because they said that the Enoch calendar is the calendar of the Bible, and the lunatic calendar, which is ruled by the moon according to them, and all those who follow it are fools. Let's see what the outcome of these 2 calendars is going to be. The book of Jubilim, or Jubilim, or Jubilee, chapter 5, 27, Genesis 7, and verse 24.
And the water prevaileth on the face of the earth 5 months, 150 days.
Okay, so that is talking to us about the days of Noah, the flood. He says the water was there for 5 months on the earth. So if we take those 5 months, according to the calendar on our left here, remember you have to add a day at the end of each quarter. So if we did that, we would have 5 months at 30 days and 1 day and 1 month. Actually, 4 months at 30 days and 1 month at 31, which would equal to 151 days. According to what we read, it didn't say anything about 151 days. It says 150 days. Both the Bible and the book of Jubilee gives the very same account. The water prevailed, or the waters prevailed for 150 days in order to justify their 31-day calendar, attempting to change or upgrade the text. I'm not even going to go there. It's too difficult, the type of things that they are saying or interjecting into the scriptures to try to make it fit. Okay, let's say they got that one to fit. Let's say you got 30. That's fine. Let's see what happens as we go to the next graphic. But let's look at the lunar calendar, or the lunatic calendar according to many. We have 5 months at 30 days. And 5 months equals to 150 days. Okay? So it is clear that there were at least 5 consecutive 30-day months on Noah's calendar, which is physically not possible with Enoch's solar calendar if Noah only knew a 30-day month. Then so did Enoch, who disappeared before the flood. Okay, so what we are saying here is that if you use the lunatic calendar of 30 days, it's going to equal 150 days, which is what the scripture said. Okay, let's continue. Sorry about that. Okay. Does prophecies fit? Okay, so we're going to look at some prophecies using both calendars again. Daniel 7:25.
Daniel 7:25. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand to change times and laws, and they shall be given, and they shall be given into his hand until the time and times and the dividing of times.
Okay, so as we look at this reading here, we put it on paper here, we calculate it for you so you can see what it's talking about. The times the 3 years and a half is equal to 1,260 days or 42 months. Let's use the Bible calendar, let's call it over here on our left to see how that works. 1 year is equal to 364 days times 3.5, which is 3.5 years. Is going to equal 1,274. Is that what the Bible said? No. It says 1,260. Time is equal to 1 year. Times is equals to 2 years. Half a time is equal to half a year. When we add them up, we get 3 years and 1/2, which is the same equivalent to 3.5 up here. Okay, let's use the lunar calendar on our right to look at the same thing. 1 year is equal to 360 days times 3.5 years. It is equal to 1,260. And we have the same thing in the bottom. Time is equal to 1 year. Times is equal to 2 years. Half a time is equal to half a year. When you add them all together, you get 3.5 or 3.5 years, which is what we have up here. You are going to get 1,260. Okay? Does prophecy fit? Does prophecy fit the future? Well, let's see. Revelation 13, verse 5.
Revelation 13:5. And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 40 and 20 months.
40 and 2.
I'm sorry, 40 and 2 months.
Which is equal to 1,260. This is the same numbers we're playing around with in those prophecies. The time, and dividing of times of Daniel 7:25 equals the same 42 months of Revelation 13, verse 5. Now, if Yeshua died and all these things change, we see in that it is not so. Even in the so-called New Testament, you have the same thing. We don't see anything about Enoch's calendar there and how it is used, but still we're going to put it to the test because they said that this is the only calendar that proves Yahuwah. Enoch's calendar, 42 months again is equal to 3.5 years. 364 times 3.5 is 1,274. Again, this is wrong. We break it down again for you. 1 time is 12 months, times is 24 months, and half a time is 6 or half a year. It will equals to 42 months. Okay, and we have all the calculations down there. I'm not even going to go into all of that. Okay, we're going to use the lunar calendar on your right side. 42 months is equals to 3.5 years, 360, which is 360 days per year, times 3.5 would give you 12 60. And again, we break it down here. Times is 12 months, times is 24, and half a times is 6 months equals to 42 months. Okay, 42 months at 30 days each will give you 1260. On the left side, 42 months at 30.3333 days is equal to 1274. 1274 divided by 42 is not equal to 30 days. You're going to get 30.33333 as far as you can go. Okay, so we see that there is something wrong. Let's continue. Does the prophecy fit? Revelation 11.
Revelation 11:2. But the court which is without the temple leaves out, and measure it not, for it is given unto the Gentiles, and set apart city shall they tread underfoot 42 months. Verse 3. And I will give power unto my 2 witnesses, and they shall prophesy 1,260 days, clothed in sackcloth. Verse 9. And they of the people and kindreds of tongues and nations shall see their dead bodies 3 days and a half, and shall not suffer their dead bodies to be put in graves. Verse 11. And after 3 days and a half, the spirit of life from Yahuwah entered into them, and they stood upon their feet, and great fear fell upon them which saw them.
Okay, so let's look at this prophecy again and see what happens. Revelation 11, a time again we said, times, dividing of times of Daniel 17 equals the same 42 months of Revelation 13:5. Revelation 11 also are the very same measurements, 1260 days of years. Okay, so a day there represent a year. Okay, so I don't think we need to do this again. This is the exact same thing we look at on the previous slide. Okay, so the 42 months is equal to 3.5 years. And when you do that, you're going to get 1274, which is wrong. When you do it with the lunar calendar on the right side, you're going to get 1260, which is what the prophecy states. Let's compare calendars. Let's compare calendars and see which is more realistic according to scriptures, not according to my mom or my aunt. We're going to look at the scriptures and see which one is more realistic, not to me, but to the scriptures. Okay, so on your left, we have the Enoch calendar, and on your right side, we have the lunar calendar, or the calendar according to the luminaries. Now, for those not knowing, let me just take a second to show you at the division here of the book of Enoch is divided into 4 seasons. And they say that each season is equal, which we already proved that this is impossible. But this is what they teach. Each season is equal to 90 days plus 1 day at the end of each season. Okay, so that goes around starting in the spring and continue for the year. On your right side, you have the lunar calendar or the solar lunar calendar. It is always the same, doesn't change. The first month, this is what you have. The 6th month, whatever month you want to count, it always remains the same. Now, some people are confused. How could this always remain the same and then Sabbaths fall on the Gregorian calendar on a different time? Okay, so if you move it over to the Gregorian calendar, it's going to be a different day every time, or different date. Okay, because again, they are not using the luminaries, they are using the sun only. And they are observing the other luminaries because that's how they tell us what's going on anyway. but the calendar is based on only the sun. Jubilees 1, and we're going to read verses 1 to 3.
Jubilees 1:1. And it came to pass in the first year of the exodus of children of Israel out of Egypt, in the 3rd month, on the 16th day of the month, that Yahuwah spake unto Moshe, saying, come up to me on the mount, and I will give you 2 tables of stone, of the Torah and of the commandment, which I have written, that you may teach them. Verse 2, and Moshe went up into the mount of Yahuwah, and the splendor of Yahweh abode on Mount Sinai, and the cloud overshadowed it 6 days. Verse 3, and he called to Moshe on the 7th day out of the midst of the cloud, and appeared to the splendor of Yahweh was like a flaming fire on the top of the mount.
Okay, so as we read this now, we're going to go to the 2 calendars and see how this plays out using both calendars. Okay, I have a copy of the Enoch calendar. I didn't do it. I didn't put any of the dates on it. The only thing I put was the graphics. You can see here in this orange color, orangish color on the top here with the black letters. That is my doing. All of these writings you can see here was done by them. Okay, so I'm just using what they have to prove to you what is going on. So let's begin. And it came to pass in the 1st year of the exodus of the children of Israel out of Egypt, in the 3rd month. So we're talking about the 3rd month. Okay, if you look down here where I have number 1, you will see, according to the calendar, this is the 1st day of the 3rd month. Okay, that's theirs. I have nothing to do with that. So let's continue. On the 16th day of the month. So what I did here, I added 16 days because they say this is the 1st day. We added 16. 1, 2, as you can see, we go down. The 16th day will fall over here. Okay, so let's continue. It says, and Moshe went up in the mount of Yahuwah, and the splendor of Yahuwah abode on the mount of Sinai, and a cloud overshadowed it 6 days. So what I did, we added 6 days. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days. Okay, so we are falling according to the calendar on the 5th. So let's continue. And he called Moshe on the 7th day out of the midst of the cloud. So I flipped the calendar down. This is the 6th day. Now he called Moshe on the 7th day, which is the Sabbath. Okay, according to this calendar, there's a lot of things wrong. And let me start to show you some of them. I'm not going to show you all, but here we are. According to them, we have 2 different groups. Remember in the beginning, I told you that there are different groups of the Enoch calendar who believe. Some believe that the Sabbath is every Tuesday, as you can see, 7-day Sabbath. Okay, so that would be on the 9th. And the other group believe that the 7-day Sabbath is every Saturday. See Saturday up here? So the Sabbath would be here. Now, according to what we just did, they are short by a couple of days, because according to what the instructions Moshe was given, the Sabbath supposed to be after the 6th day. So the Sabbath is all the way on the 9th and the 11th. So that is wrong. Okay, I'll show you a couple of things again as we go. Okay, the cloud overshadowed it 6 days. Okay, where are the 6 days? According to their calendar, there's no 6 days. He said that he called them on the 3rd month, the first day on the 16th, which is right here. Now I zoom this up so you can see it. It says Moshe climbed Mount Sinai on the 6th day of the week, and Yahuwah taught him the laws. Now that is not right, because after the 15th, he said there was to add 6 days. And then after the 6th day, the 7th day is the Sabbath. But according to their projections, they're showing you that the Sabbath is over here, okay, which lines up with the Thursday of their Sabbath. But that cannot work because 7 days are missing, okay? So let's take a look and compare the same text using the lunar calendar. And it came to pass in the 6th year of the Exodus of the children of Israel, or Israel, out of Egypt, in the 3rd month, on the 16th day of the month. Okay, so this is the 3rd month. Remember, every month is the same, looks the same actually. So we are saying on the 16th day, okay, is what we have to pay attention here. The 16th day of the month, okay? And Moshe went up in the mount of Yahuwah, and the splendor of Yahuwah abode on the mount, and the cloud overshadowed them 6 days, okay? I put the 6 days in black for us so that we could see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, okay? So we are up to the 21st. Let's continue. He continues and says, and he called Moshe on the 7th day, which is the next day, out of the midst of the cloud, okay? So here you are. He called him on the 15th. The clouds was over them for 6 days, and he called Moses on the 7th day, which is the Sabbath, okay? Let's continue again. And I have a note here saying to prove any of the Sabbaths, all you need to do is add 7 days to either one. So if we're on the 15th and you want to know when the other Sabbath will be or was, you would go to the 8th, you add, subtract 7 days, you would fall on the 8th. If you're on the 15th and you add 7 days, you would fall on the 22nd. If you add 7 days to the 22nd, you would be on the 29th, okay? So this is how you find your Sabbaths. You cannot do that on the sun calendar. It's going to be different. It's not going to work, okay? Let's look at another example. Exodus 16.
Exodus 16:1. And they took the journey from Elim, and all the congregation of Israel, children of Israel, came unto the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the 2nd month. Mm-hmm. Verse 4, then said Yahuwah unto Moses, behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a certain rate every day, that I may prove them whether they will walk in my law or not. Mm-hmm. Verse 22, and it came to pass that on the 6th day they gathered twice as much bread, 2 omer for 1 man. And all the rulers of the congregation came and told Moses. Verse 23, and he said unto them, this is that which Yahuwah has said, mm-hmm. Tomorrow is the rest of the set apart Sabbath unto Yahuwah. Bake that which he shall bake today, and seeth that he will seeth, and that which remaineth overlay up for you to be kept until the morning. Verse 24, and they laid it up till the morning, as Moses bade, and it did not stink, neither was there any worm therein. Verse 25, and Moses said, eat that today, for today is the Sabbath unto Yahuwah. Today he shall not find it in the field. Mm-hmm. Verse 26, 6 days he shall gather it, but on the 7th day, which is the Sabbath, in it there shall be none.
Okay, let's look at what we just read using a calendar. Okay, so we were not there, so we have to go back to something that was there where we can see what happened. Exodus 16 verse 1. On the 15th day of the 2nd month. Now this is the 2nd month, not the 3rd. Yahuwah told Moses, I will rain bread from heaven for you every day for 6 days. On the 6th day, they gathered twice as much bread. Okay, so here we are. The 15th is over here in gray. Again, this is what I added. And he said, you're going to rain bread 6 days. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And he said unto them on the 6th day, this is that which Yahuwah has said. Tomorrow is the rest of the set apart Sabbath unto Yahuwah. So after the 6th day, supposed to be the Sabbath. Now, according to this calendar, if we started on the 15th, even though we were 2 days off, it still would be wrong, because here you have the Sabbath falling here, which they're saying is the 2nd Passover according to what's written here. Now, those keeping the Sabbath on the Saturday, this would be the 6th day for them. And again, you can move it a little and play with it. It will fall right. But how many times would you be able to do that? You cannot play around with it every instant. Exodus 16:1, based on the instruction given, if this is the 1st day of the month, then all the Sabbaths would be out of, all of the Sabbaths would be on the wrong dates. Why? Let's look at it. Okay, so if you add 15, this is the 15, and you add, I have them here. According to the calendar, the Sabbath should have been on the 1st, the 8th, the 15th, and the 22nd, because this is how this lines up. Okay? Not on the 20th, the 27th, neither is it on the 22nd, and so on, according to these things. Okay, the next day it tells us, according to verse 23, and he said unto them on the 6th day, this is that which Yahuwah has said. Tomorrow, which is the 7th day, is the set apart Sabbath. So if you here on the 15th, you end up over here for your Sabbaths, which is the 7th-day Sabbath at this end, and this would be wrong according to them, because their Sabbaths does not line up according to this. Let's continue. Let's look at the same thing using the lunisolar calendar. Exodus 16 verse 1.
Exodus 16:1. On the 15th day of the 2nd month, Yahuwah told Moses, I will rain bread from heaven for you every day for 6 days. On the 6th day, they gathered twice as much bread.
Okay, so here you have it using the lunar calendar, so-called. Yahuwah spoke to Moses on the 15th, saying that I will send you bread for 6 days. Here are the 6 days. 1 through 21 would give you 6 days. And the next day is the Sabbath. There's no mistake about that. Let's read it again. And he said unto them on the 6th day, this is which Yahuwah has said, tomorrow is the rest of the Sabbath, or set apart Sabbath unto Yahuwah. Not unto Moses, not unto me, but unto Yahuwah. Okay, so that would be the 22nd. Again, if you want to know what the previous Sabbath was, it would be the 15th, based on the instructions we saw earlier. And if you needed to know when is the Sabbath again, the week before, it would be the 8th, and so on. Okay. Sabbath on the 15th and on the 22nd. Exodus 16:22.
Exodus 16:22. And it came to pass that on the 6th day they gathered twice as much bread. 2 omers for 1 man. And all the rulers of the congregation came and told Moses. Verse 23, and he said unto them, this is that which Yahuwah had said, tomorrow is the rest of the set apart Sabbath unto Yahuwah. Bake that which he will bake today, and seeth that he will seeth, and that which remaineth overlaid up for you to be kept until the morning. Verse 24, and they laid it up till the morning, as Moses bade, and it did not stink, neither was there any worm therein. Verse 25, and Moses said, eat that today, for today is the Sabbath unto Yahuwah. Today he shall not find it in the field.
Amen. Okay, so let's look at this same illustration again using the Enoch calendar. And it came to pass that on the 6th day, they gathered twice as much bread, 2 omers for 1 man. And all the rulers of the congregation came and told Moses. Okay, so there it is. Okay, so we saw that same illustration earlier. They gathered for 6 days. According to this, they would be gathering on the Sabbath. Okay, because if they say the Sabbath is on the fourth day, which according to them, it is the beginning of life, and this is the first day of the new year, and so on and so on. We looked at that last week. So the Sabbath would have to be broken, and we know that's not true. If it's on Saturday, it would be the 6th day. It would have to be broken. We know that's not true. Okay? So he's saying tomorrow is the Sabbath of rest, set apart Sabbath unto Yahuwah. No work, no gathering must be done. The verse tells us that. Let's look at that using the lunar calendar again.
On the 15th day of the 2nd month, Yahuwah told Moses, I will rain bread.
Okay. Okay, so this is the same very scripture we read earlier. On the 15th, he is telling Moses, I will rain bread for how many days? For 6 days. And here it is, day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 days. And the 7th day, you're not going to gather anything. You're going to rest. Okay? The 15th was the Sabbath, so was the 22nd. So if we add 7 or we take away 7 days, either way, we're going to end up the 22nd, the 29th if we add. And if we subtract, we're going to go down to the 8th, okay, based on where you are or where you begin. Let's look at some more stuff on this calendar. Exodus 12, verse 6.
And he shall keep it up until the 14th day of the same month. And the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening.
Okay, so we're looking at that because we're talking about the Passover. Seeing that the Passover is and has always been on the 14th day or on full moon, please prove this in your calendar. As you can see, the 14th is a Sabbath according to them, those that believe that the Sabbath should be on Thursdays. And on this side, we have those who believe it should be on Saturday. The month began here, according to them, and we begin our count there. The 14th day will fall on the Sabbath, and I don't know if you can see anything wrong with this calendar again, but let me show you. According to this calendar, the full moon is not even found in that month. Remember, the month begin here. Look, the full moon is in the old month. So we know again that is wrong because the full moon should be here, or even they said on the 15th here, I would take that, that's fine. But according to this, the full moon is what, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 days away. And there's no full moon in that month because according to them, the full moon began here. So that tells us that something is wrong again with this calendar. Okay, let's look at the same thing using the lunar calendar, Exodus 12, verse 6.
Exodus 12:6. And he shall keep it up until the 14th day of the same month, and the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening.
Okay, as we said earlier, Passover is on the 14th day of the first month, always on the full moon, and that's where it fell. You can look at it for yourself, do the research, you will see that's where it falls every year. Okay, you cannot use the Gregorian calendar, you cannot use the Enoch, you cannot use the Bible calendar, you cannot use anything of that sort. Okay, when I say the Bible calendar, I mean any calendar that people term to be, whatever the Bible was supposed to be using. Okay, let's continue. Can you please explain Ezekiel 46 verse 1 using your calendar or your creator's calendar? Ezekiel 46:1.
Ezekiel 46:1. Thus saith the sovereign Yahuwah, the gate of the inner court that looketh towards the east shall be shut the 6 working days, but on the 7th, on the Shabbat, it shall be opened, and in the day of the new moon, it shall be opened.
Okay. Let's go back to the Enoch calendar again. It says that your month begin here. Where are the 6 working days? 6 working days are absent. Okay. Where is the new moon? Okay, the new moon is 12 days after the year, after the month begin, because it said a month, you see, first day of the first month. I didn't write that. That's how the calendar is. Okay. So according to the scripture, there's 6 working days, the new moon, and your Sabbath. Okay, your Sabbath come after 6 working days, according to Genesis and the laws, the Torah. Okay, and then the new moon is way down here on the 12th day. My question is, what part what's the right word? What part does the new moon play in this calendar? I don't want to say nothing because I haven't seen any evidence that it does anything, but sometimes we might miss it. So let me not say nothing. Maybe somebody can, tell us what part it plays. Let's look again. We know that this calendar is wrong. The new moon isn't taken into consideration. Well, I don't think any of the moons are. The new moon is on the 12th day. We know that that's impossible because the full moon is on the 14th day of the month. There cannot be 2 days between phases, okay? So what I'm saying here, I didn't show you here, but if the new moon is falling on the first month on the 12th day according to their calendar, we know that the moon, the full moon is supposed to be on the 14th. So we know that is wrong by default because the phases cannot be 2 days apart. Also, if the 14th day of the first month is a Sabbath, it has to be broken to prepare and observe Passover. Okay, so if your Sabbath, again, according to them, is on the 14th here, it has to be broken to prepare for Passover that evening. Okay, so you have to kill the lamb, you'll have to do what you need to do, put the blood on the doorpost and so on, and all of that. Okay, so we know that's not true because that's impossible according to our Bible. To prove the Sabbath, again, you add from the new moon, you add 7 days, and this is what it will look like. These are on your right, we have all of the Sabbaths. We have 6 working days. We have the Shabbat, and then we have the new moon, okay? So everything here is in order according to Ezekiel. Which day was the Sabbath during the week of the battle of Jericho? Well, the 7th day, somebody said. Joshua 6, 11, and 14 and 15.
Verse 11. So the act of Yahuwah compassed the city, going about it once, and they came into the camp and lodged in the camp. Verse 14. And the second day they compassed the city once, and returned into the camp. So they did 6 days. Verse 15. And it came to pass on the seventh day that they rose early about the dawning of the day, and compassed the city after the same manner 7 times. Only on that day they compassed the city 7 times.
Remember, the men of Israel were fully prepared to engage in battle, carrying the Ark of the Covenant and the weapons of war. Okay, because they have to be ready to fight. Now, as we look at that again, the instruction is once per day, but on the Sabbath, according to many people, the 7th day, you have to do it 7 times. So you work harder on the 7th day. Does that make sense? Did Israel march around Jericho 7 times on the Sabbath? My Christian pastor says, yes, they did. He continued by saying, when God say march, you do what you are asked. You don't ask any questions. You just march. That's what he told me. The time I didn't know better. We read in Numbers 15, verse 32 to 36. And while the children of Israel were in the wilderness, they found a man that gathered sticks upon the Sabbath day. 15:35.
15:35. And Yahuwah said unto Moses, the man shall be surely put to death. All the congregation shall stone him with stones without the camp.
We disregard examples like this and make excuses for Yahuwah, and why we think it was okay for Joshua to lead Yahuwah's people into disobedience. Let's look at the same instructions in the book of Joshua. Joshua 88, verse 14 to 17 and 17.
Joshua 88, 14. And it was in the 2nd month, on the 1st day of the month, that Yahuwah said to Joshua, rise up, behold, I will have given Jericho into thy hand with all the people thereof. And all your fighting men shall go round the city once each day. Thus shall he do for 6 days. And on the 7th day, they went round the city 7 times, and the priests blew up the trumpets.
Okay, let's prove that. Let's go and see how Enoch calendar explains that, or how it fits. Okay. The first day down here, they say is the first day of the month. Look, it's right there, the 2nd month. Okay. And they did it day 1, day 2, day 3, and so on. They break the Sabbath if it was over here. And this is the preparation for the 7th-day Sabbath Saturday. Okay. So what they're saying here, on the 7th-day Saturday, Joshua made his men to march 7 times. So according to what I'm seeing here in our Bibles, this is the opposite effect. Okay, you don't do it once, but you do it 7 times. So the sin is 7 times stronger or more. And it was on the 2nd month, on the 1st day of the month, that Yahuwah said to Joshua, and all your fighting men shall go around the city once each day. Thus shall you do for 6 days. And on the 7th day, they went around the city 7 times. Okay. If this is the 1st day of the month, then the 5th and the 7th day can be the Sabbath, or cannot be the Sabbath. Okay, so we have, let's see, this is the 1st day. All right, so the 5th and the 7th cannot be the Sabbath. That's what I'm saying here. since they were commanded to go around the city once each day for 6 days, and on the seventh day, they went around the city 7 times. This means that they worked the hardest on the 7th day, or on the Sabbath. The answer is no. The only way that Israel could have accomplished this is by using a solely lunar calendar. And let's prove that. Let's look at the same illustration using the lunar solar calendar. Okay, and it came to pass on the 2nd month, on the 1st day of the month, that Yahuwah said to Joshua, and all your fighting men shall go round about the city once each day. Thus saith ye to do. Thus shall he do for 6 days. And on the 7th day, they went round the city 7 times. Okay, so he's fighting men. So that tells you they were ready for war. If we look at this same illustration on the lunar calendar, you will see that the 1st day is the new moon day. So from there you count 7 days. And here we go, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the 7th day is here. The Sabbath is the next day, which is the 8th day, which shows that the Sabbath is safe. Okay, 7-day Sabbath worship day. Absolutely no matching. Okay, so this is how we know which calendar that was used. The moon and stars are useless in this heavenly lineup, or in their heavenly lineup. After much time of downplaying the moon and its assignments given to it by Yahuwah the Creator, it is made clear by the Enoch calendar believers that the sun determines everything. We don't need the moon. They declare that the time used by them to prove that the stars are the second of the greater light, they can show no affiliation with the stars and the Sabbaths. Okay, so they spend a lot of time telling you that the greatest light mentioned in Genesis 1 is not the moon, but the stars. So I would feel, well, they would show you how the stars are used. But according to what I'm saying here, they can show no affiliation with the stars and their Sabbaths, their months, their feasts, their years, their jubilees, or nothing else. The stars is not affiliated with anything that they do. If it is, I would be corrected and not a problem. The proof verse is Jubilees 2 verse 10.
Jubilees 2:10, and Yahuwah appointed the sun to be a great sign on the earth for days, and for Sabbaths, and for months, and for feasts, and for years, and for Sabbaths of years, and for jubilees, and for all seasons of the years. And it divideth the light from the darkness, and the prosperity, that all things may prosper, which shoot and grow on the earth.
Okay, so earlier I tell you that the sun and moon works together. The phases that we see on the moon represents what's going on with the sun. So this is what I understand this verse to be saying, because you cannot look up at the sun at all. So that wouldn't make sense. Sometimes people are upset when you throw in a little logic versus what a verse may be saying. Some people are telling you, no, you don't see that there. What it says is that the sun does everything. If you ask them, well, brother, show me, based on the sun, when is the next Sabbath? They go quiet or they get upset. But I mean, sometimes we have to apply some common sense to things so that we can understand what it's saying. You cannot look at the sun at any one time and see anything. You're going to lose your eyes. That's about all. And you're still not going to know when the Sabbath is. That makes it worse. Okay? So what I get there is that you have to use the moon which is a reflection of the sun, to do all of those feasts mentioned. Is this what he's saying in Genesis 1 verse 14? Does this agree with Genesis 1:14? Genesis 1:14, read.
Genesis 1:14. And Elohim said, let there be lights, not one, in the firmament of heaven, to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and for years.
Okay, so we see it there in Genesis 1. Now, we don't have a fight between the two verses, because if we say that it's only the sun, that's why I tell people sometimes verses don't tell you the complete story. You have to know your Bible in order for you to use references to go back to what was said somewhere else, because it may not be saying exactly what you think it's saying. Okay, so if we go back to Genesis 1:14, let there be lights, not just one light, but let there be lights in the firmament. And what are they going to do? They're going to divide the day from the night. Let them, not one, be for signs and for seasons and for days and for years. So it is not one luminary that's going to show you all of those things. But a lot of the time, one luminary is transparent, I want to say, through other luminaries that you can be able to read. Now, if we don't know nothing about these things, none of it will make sense to us, because the stars being in certain position at certain time of the year can tell you what's going on. It can tell you whether it's spring, summer. It can even tell you if the sun has set. So sometimes it's not, we can't look at one verse and make a determination based on that one verse, or else we're going to be lost. Not the sun only, because the reflection of the sun is seen in the moon. Okay? According to this verse, the sun does not account for all the luminaries by itself. That's impossible. They work together to accomplish days, nights, years, signs, and seasons. Okay? They all work together. The luminaries are not like us. We're greedy. We want to do everything ourselves. We want all the light. We want to be the star. But that's not how it works. The stars are the stars. The moon is the moon. The sun is the sun. They do not take the glory of another. Okay? If you want to know where the husband is, you ask the wife. Now that's a neat family. We're not talking about just two people married. If you need to know where the sun is, ask the wife and she'll tell you. And that is what's going on between the luminaries. Okay? Ask the sun, it will tell you where the moon is. If you ask the moon, it will tell you where the sun is. But you have to know the luminaries. Okay? How do we know that Enoch and Noah did not use what is referred as the Enoch calendar of 364 days? Okay, so how do we know that he did not use it? It is obvious that they did not, or they didn't, as we calculate past and future events in the Bible. Not one has calculated to a 364-day year or a 31-day calendar. Neither did the equinox match with the first day of the month. Instead, in the Bible events, past and future, history calculates to the 30-day or a 30-day month that begins with a new moon, even in the very book used to attempt to prove a so-called Enoch calendar of 364 days. Different beliefs. Read, Leah.
Even among the Enoch calendar believers, there are many different beliefs and teachings. One group believed that the Sabbath is on Saturday, which began the evening before. Others believe it should be on every Thursday. Some believe that a day begins in the morning. Others believe it should be at evening. Some celebrate the feast of Noah, others don't.
Okay, so there's a lot of different teachings. I mean, I didn't mention everything here, but there's a lot of different beliefs among them that tells me that it's not down packed as to exactly what must be done. because I'll show you later that they are now beginning to use the same calendar that we have, that I demonstrated to you as a lunar calendar. Some of them is now using that. Some say we shouldn't use the equinox, we could use the equilux. Some say that equinox is not on the 20th, but they have a little chart they build up in the yard, and when the sun cross over this shadow, blah, 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 this is the new thing. So it is not down pat. So I don't think anybody can say for sure this is what is it. If the Enoch calendar is the true Bible calendar, why doesn't it calculate? Big question. Not even once to prophecies, Bible history, nor future event. It failed in every category as far as we have seen. How could all these calculations be wrong, but the calendar right? Remember, if you begin wrong, all your feasts will be wrong. Some accept that they call what they call the calendar of Enoch, even though it contradicts scripture and themselves over the one in scripture. All calendars can be right sometimes, but Yahweh's calendar is right 100% of the time. Okay, so you could play around with the calendar and say, well, in Noah's days, you know, they do this, maybe the boat turn around or whatever it is that they want to say. And then you had an extra day, you know. This is why we have 150 instead of 151. Well, you can play around with it, but what about the others? I mean, I didn't show you everything possible. I showed you a few illustrations, and you can see from there that the calendar has fell short. The lunar calendar is a calendar used by the priest of the Second Temple from Ezra, Second Temple period actually, from Ezra up to at least the early Roman calendar, which when we were studying that, it told us that they changed from a lunar calendar to when they was preparing or when they were starting to do that new calendar. It told us that what they changed from. And if you research it, you'll see for yourself that it was a lunar calendar that they had, and that is what they changed from. Some Enoch calendar believers understand this and are now beginning to copy our format. Okay, here it is. I cannot tell you too much about it. I have the site there if you want to look at it. You see now they have Equilux Day and not Equinox. So, like I said, among them there's different teachings. And from what I see, it doesn't make much sense. But you remember on the lunar calendar, we have the new moon beginning day 1. So in order for their calendar to fit what the Bible is saying and what we just looked at a while ago, they are now using the same format, but no new moon, because remember the moon was not there. So I don't know where it was, but they're not using it. So my question is the number 1, what's up with it? Why is it there? It's not even in the frame of the calendar. So number 1 is missing in action or something, I don't know. But as you look at it, you can see that the Passover falls on the 14th. So they are making some corrections as they go. So that tells you again that this thing is not complete, and men are behind the steering wheel. They're steering it the way they want. Now, if you bring all of those different groups together, you have a fight, because they're going to say, no, this is a lunar calendar. You cannot use this. And no, the Sabbath begins on Thursday, while another set saying, no, it's on Saturday. So it's all confusion. And down in the bottom here, we have day 1 because of what? What determines day 1? The sun is hotter today? What is it? I don't know. They didn't say. But here I put the link for you. I'll ask Leah to cut it and put it in the chat so that those who are interested could go and explore a little bit and see what this means. After showing and demonstrating to you the proof of the sun, moon, and stars in Yahuwah's calendar, many are still willing to argue that the sun only calendar, although it does not take into consideration the moon or the stars, it is the only true calendar. They will continue to hold on to it even though they cannot prove its standalone use in the Bible. It's not used anywhere in the Bible. As a matter of fact, let me just say, if we remember in the days of Ezra, I think that's in chapter 3, when they were building back Jerusalem, the walls and all of that, they found the book of the law. And they said, let us consult the book of the law. Remember, everything is starting fresh. We are going to build a wall, we're going to build a temple, we're going to put Yahuwah first in our lives, we're going to do the sacrifices and all of that. Guess what I didn't see there? I didn't see anything about the book of Enoch. And I'm saying, me personally, I'm not saying that anybody should. If we are going to start over, we're going to consult the book of the law, we're going to do our sacrifices, we're going to put everything back in place. Don't you believe if the book of Enoch was there in that time, some mention of it would be in those verses? I mean, I'm just giving you one illustration. There's many times Israel have failed and went astray and come back, and they clean up themselves and they still consulted the book of the law. They did not consult the book of Enoch. If we go again, we look at, I think it was Nehemiah, I think. I should have written that down. When, what am I saying? I got lost there. In the book of Nehemiah, yes, the same thing was done there. When they brought the book of the law, they consult the book of the law. It says, I think, that the priest tore his clothes when he saw, I guess, the things in the Torah. Because when we are without his word, we are naked, we are dirty, and so on. So I guess when he saw these things written, he tore his clothes. Okay? There's nowhere that says anything about when he saw the book of Enoch, he tore his clothes, or anything of the sort. It is absent. So if the book of Enoch is absent in the Torah, nowhere mentioned, I don't know what else I can say to make it sweet to swallow, but it's not there. You know, they didn't use it. So again, let's continue. The questions that should be, or the question we should be asking ourselves about this is, where in the Bible can you find examples of anyone using the calendar they promote? We are not looking for where out of context phrases are mentioned, because as I showed you, they will show you what we just read, where the sun only determines everything. But again, I said the sun only does not determine everything, because one reflects from the other. One tells you where the other one is. Okay? Even though you cannot see the sun at the time, if you can see the moon, it tells you about the sun. Okay? So we're not talking about that. We're talking about actual events. And because of the equinox, or when he counted from the equinox, he knew when to keep his feast or whatever. This is what we're looking for. And I haven't seen it. Where is the sun mentioned and used as instruments to begin the year? Okay, I know they teach that when the sun flips, the year begins, but that is not so. When the sun flips, it only indicates that the year is going to begin. And the year begins with the new moon, the Aviv. The Bible tells us that. So we don't have to guess that. It tells you when it begins. So the flipping of the sun is just, again, what I said earlier, an indication that the year begins. If you see the flipping of the sun, you know the new moon is next. And that's all it is. One tells you about the other. Give examples in scripture and not commentary, not what my great-grandmother said or so whatever or whoever. We don't want to hear that. We want to see in your Bibles, even in the books mentioned, Jubilee and so on. Sirach, show us where any examples of men using these things or using the 364 day to do calendar to do anything. If you are on an island alone, will you be able to look up to the sun and know when is the Sabbath? Like we said last week, if you are in hard times and you have to run for your life, you are hiding someplace, and you come out, you're hungry, you come out to grab a bite quickly. You come out at night most likely because you don't want to be seen. If you can see the moon, you can see, well, tomorrow is a Sabbath, or it's very close. Even though you cannot read it properly, you can see the crescent, you can say, oh, you will know that the month has started. If you see the full moon, you know it's the 15th. I mean, but the 14th, you know, the full moon is the 14th, and we know what time of the year it is. So you cannot use the sun by itself for none of those things. And again, the reflection of what we're seeing in the moon is telling you about the sun. And please don't forget, when we're doing this, quote from the scriptures. Many times I discuss scriptures with people and they say, why in the Bible does it say that? Give me the verse. And you have to give them a verse. But when it's their turn now to give you a verse, they find that word of mouth is enough. They will tell you, Philo said this, and you know, the brilliant man said so and so, and we don't want to hear that. We want to see it from the scriptures. We didn't just talk about the moon. In many, many, many videos, you will see people tearing down the moon to tell you you shouldn't use it. Use the sun. Okay? But they will not do what we just did. They will not take their calendar and put it up and show you how these things line up. That's what they need to do. Show me your calendar with what you are saying, and let's see how it lined up. Okay, the moon is for loonies, that's fine. But please, show me your calendar, how you line them up using the sun, and get those dates from our Bible. Okay, so we showed you how, when, and why it's important in the heavenly lineup or the luminaries, and what it plays in identifying the days, the weeks, the month, the Sabbaths, and feast. Remember Daniel 7:25?
Daniel 7:25, and he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times, the appointed occasion, and laws. Okay, so this is not talking about Rome or anyone else changing Sabbath from Saturday to Sunday, like they teach. Okay? And they shall be given into his hands until the time and times and so on. Okay, so this is talking about threatening Yahuwah's feast days. This is not talking about, if you look at H2163, that doesn't tell you about changing Saturday to from Sunday to Saturday or Saturday to Sunday. That's not what this is talking about. This is talking about exactly what is going on because of the Roman calendar, because of the Enoch calendar. We are using appointed times that the Father did not appoint. We have gone astray. We are keeping Christmas, Easter, and all of those days. We have no idea what we are doing. So unless you have your right calendar, you are wasting your time. Now, I am not condemning anybody. I am not the Father to tell you if you don't, you are lost. I wouldn't do that. As respect to everybody, that's not for me to do. What is for me to do is to show you what is right
and hope that you will open your books and take a look at it for your own self and prove them. What you do with your life doesn't necessarily, have anything to do with me, although we would like to fellowship with all men, all brothers and sisters. And again, I must say, even though you don't believe what I say, that should be no reason why we cannot agree, we cannot sit together, or we cannot do events or worship together. And I am not, well, let me say we, I think as a group, we are not that way. If you don't believe exactly what we say, we don't punish you. The church where I went, if you don't believe what they say, you are punished. You are put to sit down on the bench by yourself. You cannot do activities. You cannot do this. You cannot sing. You cannot be in the choir because you do not believe what they said. We are not that radical. We don't do things like that. We allow people to see and study for their own self. Tomorrow you might understand what we told you, and gladly you will say, yes, they were right. Some will go the opposite way. Tomorrow they will believe instead what Enoch said and go the other way. Regardless of whatever it is, we are not enemies. As Yona was saying in the beginning, you see all of the various groups are fighting one another, and for some reason, the same signs they are saying, they are mentioning in the lecture. This is how you know the children of Israel. Their hands are going to be against their brother. They're going to be fighters. And on the street, we see the same exact thing. So they are fulfilling exactly what they are reading to you. Ecclesiasticus 43.
Ecclesiasticus 43, 6 and 8.
Hold on. 43, originally written in Hebrew in the time frame around 190 to 180 BC, and translated in Greek around 132 BC. Okay, that's just a note I found. I just added it here. So let's look at Ecclesiasticus 43, 6 to 8.
Ecclesiasticus 43, 6 to 8. And then the moon, ever punctual to mark the times, an everlasting sign. It is the moon that signals the feast, a luminary that wanes after being full. The month derives its name from hers. Mm-hmm. She walks wonderfully in her phases, banner of the host on high, shining in the vault of heaven.
Okay. I think that says it all. I don't think I need to say anything more on that, because all of the arguments they make is stated right there. All right? They say that the moon is not, what's the right word? Is not a true witness because it comes out in the day. They say it's lost for some part of the day, of the night. You cannot see it because it's cloudy. They say you cannot use it because it's dark. Now, the whole thing doesn't make any sense to me, because when you look at your map, going to any place, everything is not in one color. Sometimes you have to turn 3-4 pages so that you can see where you're going. It's part of the same map. So the Father has given us the luminaries to steer. This is our map, to steer us through the ages, through the year, through the week, and so on. As we look at the map, we can see what is coming ahead. Now, do you know if you're using the 364-day calendar or the 365 and a half, do you know that you cannot see what's going on? You see what they show you, but you're not seeing what's going on. So that is the difference. And I want to encourage all of our loved ones, those gathering with us, those who are going to hear this on YouTube or from a friend or whatever, that you will take your time, regardless to what your pastor says. I know it's tough for some of us, and for this reason, again, is another reason why we should not pressure or push people to follow whether the right thing or, let's say, us. I have friends that I talk to, I have associates that I speak to about this. They understand, they believe, but they cannot make the move because in order to make the move, they have to deal with mommy. They have to deal with the dad. They have to deal with their friends because, you know, people are going to laugh at you. One guy say, man, you're going back into those laws of Moses. This thing was nailed to the cross. Now you're wearing a little tam, and they laugh at you. So you have to be strong. You have to understand for yourself who you are. You cannot let men define you and tell you how to dress. Like, as we look for our Bible, we see that we are separate people, loved ones. We are not everybody. We're not anybody. Yahuwah was the one who said how we must dress, how we must eat. You cannot eat anything. The lobster sandwich and these things are not for us. I tell people I don't eat that and they laugh. They say, man, you don't know what you're missing. I say, I don't eat garbage. You enjoy your garbage. You know, I know what I'm missing because I have ate it. I mean, I was not always in this faith. I didn't always understand that. But I'm telling you the truth. I didn't miss it. There's nothing about it that I miss. So we now have to make the sacrifice. And this is what Israel does not understand. You have to make a sacrifice. Life is not just easy and the pages are turned and the Sabbath is set for you and everything is ready. Come and eat. That's not how it works. You're going to have to make a sacrifice. They're going to laugh at you. They're going to put you out of the house. If you are young or whatever, married to a man or whatever, and he doesn't want to keep Yahuwah's laws, he's going to tell you, much, leave my house. We are going to suffer. Messiah tell you, for his name's sake, we are going to suffer all of these persecutions. And it's going to get worse. So I'm just urging you, some people believe that if this is the way of Yahuwah, it will not be hard. No, that's not how it works. Because it's the way of Yahuwah, it's going to be hard. Because remember, everybody else is just sliding and doing what they want. You know, everybody's in the good times, the Christmas, the Easter, and man, you don't know what you're missing. But for you, it cannot be that way. Our Father has set us apart. He has set us apart for a reason. We are holy unto him. Okay? So we cannot do the things like the other nations. We have to just let them do their business. But we have to be an example because I'm telling you, one day they will read you as their Bible. They're going to say, wow, Brother David, I remember Brother David had told me so. And do you remember he was living different than everybody else? We have to have that testimony, loved ones. We cannot be like everybody. We cannot curse the people on the street and then tomorrow when they see us gathering, they laugh at you because they say, look at the guy that was cursing me on the street last week. We cannot be that way. At this time, I'm going to stop here with this presentation. And I'm very honored again to be your teacher for the past 8 or 9 weeks. And now and then I'm going to try to give us some teachings. I have quite a bit, but as you know, I don't like to give snacks. I like to give you a good meal that you can, you know, at the end of it, you have learned something. And I thank the Father for this channel because from the time I started, this is one thing I have always liked about it. There's no one scripture and a bunch of talking. Okay? There's a bunch of scriptures and little talking. And that's what I love. If it's in the Bible, let's use the Bible to prove everything. All right? So I'm going to stop here. Brother Yona, I'm going to...
All right. Shalom, shalom. Thank you, Brother Felix.
You're welcome.
For giving us this wonderful class.
Mm-hmm.
Full course meal. All praises to our Elohim for your breakdowns of this.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to say that again. You says, who did you say we have to be holy unto?
Yahuwah.
All right. Because a lot of our people, or make it where they're wholly onto the pastor, the friends, the church, whatever it is. The Most High. You know, as you mentioned about the nail to the cross thing, if somebody's check is $10 short by the payroll department, we will see how fast those laws that were nailed on the cross will come down. Yeah, because they would say, well, the people have stolen from me. I should have gotten $10 more or whatever. You see how fast the thing that was nailed on the cross will be torn off that cross and implemented right away. Because they'll say, hey, you're stealing from me.
Yeah.
So we know full well, Mishpachah, that you know, people can say whatever it is until the convenience has changed. When it's on their side, you know, it's no problem. You know, when it's not on their side, it's a problem. The Most High is the one who has the keys to eternal life. And if we want to get in that kingdom, we have to follow what he says must be. And pick and choose and whatnot. I'm glad also in your presentation that you mentioned about the prophecies, because I know beforehand we had some brothers and sisters that were trying to figure out, well, how does this thing tie in with prophecy? Well, we have a custom every year. We have people talk about September as far as crashes, and we see this on YouTube. A lot of the Gentiles will make these predictions about end times or whatever it is, and they would always use the Roman Christian Gregorian calendar.
Yes.
So then now we have another set that is using Enochian understanding, because again, Enoch was a reporter. He was not a lawgiver. He was a reporter, just reporting how things operate during his time. Since that time, a lot of things has changed, but the Most High did say, as long as we look at the sun, moon, and stars, the luminaries, we're going to know at the right time, the Shabbats and whatnot. Because if he decides to make the sun stand still for 2 days, and we have a clock that says that the time is based on, 12 hours or 10 hours or whatever the case may be, we can have a problem. Because when the sun sets 2 days later, it has to continue doing what it's supposed to do. We follow according to what the Most High is doing in his system, the luminaries. So I want to thank the Most High for giving you a full course, that you were able to cook this up properly, make sure the salad is on one side, a good meal, a proper meal, and not given snacks. We have, I guess, a question that was placed in the chat room by Trey. Brother Felix, if you are able to answer this, let's see if someone wants to tackle it. It says, just confused on the 30-day months, and the 7th-day Sabbaths. And then continues to say, just where is the 30-day between the 29th Sabbath and the first day Sabbath? Did you get that, Brother Felix?
The 29th day and the first day?
Yeah, where is the 30-day between the 29th Shabbat, which today would be what? The 29th. So they're asking, because the Enochian presentation is 30 days. And then at the end of every quarter, or 90 days, they add one. So I guess that's what the question is. Where does the 30-day fit between the 29, like today is a Shabbat, and we're looking out for the new moon, which will give us the first day of the week. Where's the 30-day? That's the question.
I'm understanding that based on the Enochian calendar or based on the lunar calendar.
Let me see if I can get the listener to come in and speak directly to you. Trey, I'm going to give you a chance to come and speak, okay? So you can just speak directly.
Yes, hello.
Shalom.
Shalom.
Shalom. Yes, no, my question was, you were showing how the 30-day months can add up, 5 months would be, times 30 would be 150 days.
Mhm.
But then when we count, the first day through the 8th, through the 15th, 22nd, 29th, then where does the 30-day go before we get to the next month and the first day Sabbath? You get what I'm saying? Like if we count 1 through 29, then where does the 30th day come before we get to the first day of the next month?
When you say, I still don't follow. After the 29 days was, some months have 29 days.
Uh-huh.
And a half, if you're talking about the lunar system,
The lunar
some days
solar.
have,
Yeah.
let's just cut it and say 29 days. Some has 30 days. After the 29th day is the 30th day. But some months do not have 29 days. But when you calculate it, it is equal to 30 days every month. Now, how you do that, like I was trying to show you earlier, is in the calculary. It's not something that you add. It is something that happens automatically in the heavens. Okay? So if a month has 29 days, let's say, you cannot say, well, I will add a day. You cannot add a day because it's 29 days in that month.
I get you.
But the time that it takes the luminaries to travel, let's say they wait for each other, and at the end of the year, this is what you're going to have, okay? So you will take about 3 months to actually calculate each month at 30 days. I don't know if you're following me. If you don't know, it's a little hard to explain.
Well, can I just ask just in this way? So
okay.
In order, like, instead, if we just count 1 through 29 for 12 through 12 months, is that what you're saying? And then if
no,
there is a 13th,
no, you never have 29 every month. Some is 30 and some is 29.
That's what I'm saying. So how do we know the difference in what month is a 29th and what month has 30 days? I guess that's where I'm trying to.
Okay, well, then you'll have to observe the heavens. That is
okay,
what
just simply by, okay.
You will have
I
to
just
observe
wanted to make sure.
when the when the new moon comes in. That would tell you whether it's a 29 or a 30-day month. Okay?
And is
that
the
is how
30th,
you would know.
And is the 30th day any significance with the Sabbath? Like, okay, if the 29th day is the Sabbath, and then we look up and there still isn't a new moon to say, like, so that would make it a 30th day. Is that what you're saying?
We'll have to look for
so then we just observe the 30th day, and then upon the next, the first day of the next month is just the Sabbath again?
No, the next day is not the Sabbath again.
The first day of the next month?
Yes.
The next month, yes.
Right. Well, I just mean so like the 29th of Sabbath. Okay, we see that there is a 30th day in this month. Okay, so it's still the same, the prior month. But then when we see the new moon, which would probably be the next day, that would be the next month, meaning the next Sabbath or the first Sabbath.
The Sabbath for the next month, yes, because that's what we're going to be looking at tonight.
Right. Okay. So
yes,
so I just want to make sure. So within a 3-day period, though, or 3 or 4 day period, there can be 2 Sabbaths, is what I'm asking.
No.
Like if you have the 29th.
No, because you're not going to observe. What you're saying is that when the 30th comes, if we observe it to be the new moon, that week, you already have the Sabbath on the 29th. So the following week now is when you're going to the new Sabbath.
Okay, I get. Okay, that makes sense. I get you.
Okay,
that makes
but
sense.
we're going to do that on a class shortly. We're going to take the time to show all of what you're asking there. So I can ask Brother Yona to see if he could explain.
I think I get you.
You got it?
I'll definitely tune in for that one. But I think I get you now.
Yeah, so we're
Thank you.
definitely going to do a class that's going to show us exactly how this is going to be done. We're going to show you the pictures and how we transform from, like this week, we're going to be, we're doing Sabbath on Thursday, but starting next week, it will most likely be Friday, okay?
Okay,
So
I see.
we're
Okay.
going to show you how we get that and why it's done that way. Thanks for your question.
Thank you for the answer. Shalom.
Just keep in mind, brother, that 29 and a half, if you notice, there's always this half that
Right.
don't
Yeah, because
really
of the lunar. Yeah.
exactly account for. And just always remember this thing. It is not a perfect circle. It's elliptical,
Right. The
right?
moon. Yeah.
Meaning that it's like if you're driving on a straight road and then you have to make a turn, you got to slow down. And as you slow down, you lose time, right? You can't keep at the same speed, otherwise you'll crash in a tree or something. You gotta
Right.
take your turn slow, slow down, probably even slower. It depends on if there's hills or valleys or whatever it is. And then you reduce your speed. And then when you come back, you'll notice the sign has changed from 15 miles around that turn back to 45 miles an hour or whatever it is in your area.
Right. Okay, I hear
But
you.
the problem
I
is
get
that people want to drive 45 miles around the turn, and that's why we keep crashing.
you. Right. Okay. Fair enough.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Okay. And I'm glad that you were able to come on and speak because it's much easier.
Yeah.
Explain
Well, I
yourself
really
than
want
for
to
me to
know.
try to figure out what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
All right. So let
I hear
me
you.
disable you and let's get someone else. Let's say Brother Yosef. The 13 months, how does that work? Brother Felix, question about the 13 months. How does it work?
Basically, I think we touched it a little bit. Again, the luminaries is what determines if you're going to have a 13th month or not, or when you're going to have it, because it's going to come. I gave you an example earlier. We spoke about the barley. The spring is not in, let's say it's March, but we don't see the blooming. We don't see, the stuff that is necessary. In the Bible case, it says you need to watch the barley. Now, we are not planters. We have no idea. Some of us have no idea what barley looks like. We go on the internet and take a look and see what it looks like. But for Israel, they knew exactly what it should look like in the beginning of spring. So if the barley was not where it's supposed to be, let's say, for instance, the barley was ripe, okay? It was not ripe, it wasn't blooming or whatever. It wasn't green. It didn't start to bloom yet. Then we know that something is wrong, okay? But again, you would have to add the 13th month. And then when you come to the 13th month, then you would see that the barley would be ripe and stuff like that. Or your plants would flower. Now, every part of the world, you have certain flowers that comes out in the spring. And if you pay attention to them, you'll see that sometimes in March, they wouldn't come out. So there you know that something is missing. You know that you have to wait for another month or 13th month. Okay? I think Yona can explain that to you a little better. Sometimes you know something, but it's difficult to explain. Yeah. But that's basically how it works.
No, just real quick, and Maisha wants to chime in just real quick. Please keep in mind, brethren, that it's not just the barley. The barley is also one of the pieces of the puzzle to give us a picture. But keep in mind that we have disasters called famines, droughts, and whatnot. So the Most High has given us the opportunity to look at something that doesn't change like that, which are the luminaries. Now, Maisha want to chime in on that, so go ahead and.
Yeah, Yah talks in the Psalms that he crowns the year Okay, he crowns the year. Now, if you're going to look at nature, and nature does, is one of the things that you look at to tell you when the year begins also. Because when the trees are blooming, you can see something like little buds that comes on the branches, and then they look like little crowns. Like if you would take one and you wrap around, they look like little crowns, on the tree branches. And the moon also has a position that moves, at certain times in the spring, so what it looks like to know when the year actually starts. So the moon starts looking like a bowl, like if you had a fruit bowl, and then you have the stars also. That's where the stars come in, and the stars plays the part, with line up with the moon. So at the spring season, that's when you would see the brightest star, like Pleiades. Pleiades is brighter in the springtime, and it sits right beneath the moon, and when the moon is sitting like a bowl. So every time the months come, then the moon moves its position. It slightly move, and the next month it will move up a little and move up a little. So all those little things, is included in telling you what months, when the year begins, because the trees, nature itself, they depend upon the sun, moon, and the stars in order to get the water pulled back into the trees, to get the leaves to start, coming on the branches. So all these little things play a part, and so that's why he says that we up to observe those things. I hope that helps.
And again, we are going to have a panel discussion on that, where we'll have blackboards or chalkboards or whatever boards and other information that we can actually put these things out for everyone to see. It wouldn't be myself alone. Brother Felix will be involved, Isha, and we'll see who else will be involved in that to help us to get better understanding. Okay. Brother Felix, can you also type in the chat your email address for the Mishpachah that needs to send you, as the Bible says, to bear one another's burden. To if in case they have a question, they can they can direct it to you.
Sure.
So if you can post that up there, that'll be great.
Okay, I'll do that.
See. All right, Mishpachah. We're gonna wrap it up now. I hope that you're able to see the dilemma, and Brother Felix has given you the links for the. Thank you, Brother Felix, Aaliyah. Brother Felix has presented the other side of the Hebrew movement with from the Enochian point of view, with their calendar, and he has also shown how we can run into problems when it comes to prophecy, because even though outwardly it says 3.5 years, their 3.5 years and our 3.5 years is two different. It's like I'm saying I have a ruler and you got a ruler. I want to check it out. My ruler is 12 inches and yours is 16.5. Okay, so we are supposed to be on the same job site doing the job, and one side of the house is 50 feet and the other side is probably 60 something or 70 feet. We have a trapezoid. We don't have a square. We have problems.
Yeah.
So this is what is happening with Israel right now, where it's just fractioned all over the place. It was prophesied to be this way, but it will all be straightened out when our master teacher arrives. That will be cleared up. So don't throw any tomatoes at us. We're just simply shown that, listen, all the calendars, their stuff has to be added to it.
Mm-hmm.
But when you sift through all that stuff and the chaff is blown away, it goes back to Genesis chapter 1, verses 14. Ecclesiasticus says that the month is named after the moon.
Mm-hmm.
All the Hebrew groups out there uses the Apocrypha. Why do they stay away from this particular verse? That's the question. Why do they go around that and say otherwise. So it's back to the cherry picking. Again, we need these things because if destruction comes, where do we look? There's a reason why Noah's ark had a window to the top. So you can peep through and see what's happening. So you'll know the times. You know, you can write everything on paper, but what if the Most High decide to let the sun stand still? As in Joshua, the sun stood still and the moon also.
Mm-hmm.
Like he just stopped the clock. Not just one or the other, it was both. Okay. So with that said, Mishpachah, was there something else you want to bring? You good? All right. So we will save it for another time. I think there's a part 4, Brother Felix, of Enoch.
Yeah, I'll work on it a little bit because like I said in the presentation, there are some people that are not going to accept whatever you say because it says the Son alone must determine these things. And it also says there are 364 days. No matter what you show them, they are not going to take it. So I want to probably spend some time to try to decode exactly what is being said.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Brother Obadiah looks like he has a question. You want to say something? Okay, give me 1 second, brother. See.
Now, what I wanted to say also, when you, doing that study with the sun, moon, and the stars, and why people are saying that they don't want to use the moon. Shaul mentioned that the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made. Okay, so I think it's in the book of
Romans.
Malachi. Malachi talk about the Son of Righteousness arise
with
healing in his wings. So if Yeshua is the word, he's the word, he's the lawgiver, all right, and he gives the law to Israel, which is the woman. Okay, so you have Yeshua being the sun and you have Israel being the moon. And all nations have to look to Israel to learn about Yeshua. Because he said he made his word known only to Jacob. He didn't make it known to any other. Okay? Yes, Malachi 4:2. Okay? So he is the light of the world. All right?
Good night, sir.
How you doing? And so he gives his word to Israel. And so you can't say that you don't want to use the moon, and you want to look only to, to the sun, and so it doesn't work that way. So you have to look at it in that sense and how you understand how things work. Okay?
Absolutely. Brother Obadiah, what say you, Israelite? What's on your mind?
Shalom, family. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear, brother. Go ahead.
All praise to our Father for a wonderful lesson. I too was hung up on the 13th month. I was doing some research, and I'm still in the process. The question I have for the family: are there any ancient writings from the forefathers that confirm a 13th month was ever necessary? I understand about looking for the barley. I thank Sister Sarah for adding just now about the other signs as well. But based on everything that I've read, there's 12 courses for the priests. There's 12 houses of the luminaries. Do we have anything written where we can confirm a 13th month, although it's possible it was ever used?
The answer is yes. I was studying that, but I didn't want to bring it into this presentation because it was not actually about the moon. What I will do, like we said, we are going to do that forum with the luminaries and so on. So what I will do, I will try to get it for you and try to show it then. But there are, based on calculations, the only way that these calculations can happen is if you have a 13 month. So I would say yes, but it doesn't say, and we added a 13th month, blah, blah, blah. That's not how it works. But when you calculate it, you could only see that the only way that can happen is because of a 13th month.
Again, with if you read the book of Enoch very carefully, you will see that he's telling you there is going to be that 13th month in there, because he said at a certain period of years, the sun is going to have more months than the moon. So if the sun has 13 months, you know what I mean? Then you have to go according to, you know, how the, like you said, the leaders that lead them, okay, are putting in the calculations for you. It's not something that you do yourself. So by observing it after 3 years, you'll notice that the position has changed. And so when you think it's springtime, you would notice that, like he said before, some of the trees are not blooming, and certain things that's supposed to be in certain time is not there yet. Then look to the, you know, the heavens, the moon is not going to be in the houses. And I will tell you one thing is very important. If you study how the stars move around and where their location are, and when the moon is in that location, that also tells you, you know, whether you're in the year or not in the year. Okay, so all that plays a part in that.
All right.
Mhm.
I have a question about explaining. This is just the final one, then we're going to have to take it later. Okay, so I have a question about Colossians 2 and 16. Can you please explain that again? Now, before I do this, Brother Obadiah, was that it that you had, or are you?
No, that was it. Thank you, family.
You're welcome, brother. Thank you so much for your question. Okay, so again, we will cover certain things later on. As Brother Felix said, that was not part of his presentation today, but he will bring something out on that. And I believe that we did talk about that sometime in the past. Just don't remember which one of the classes to point, because sometimes we have multiple classes that overlap on certain things, and if you don't watch the whole thing, you may not know exactly where it is. All right, so Colossians 2:16 says, "Let no man therefore judge you in meat," okay, "or in drink, or in respect of an holy day, or of the new moon, or of the Shabbat days, which are a shadow of things to what? Come, not past, but things to come. But the body is of the Moshiach." So the question is, does this mean to say, I guess that's the question, that we're not supposed to keep the Shabbat or follow the new moons? No, that's not what it's saying. People will judge you for keeping set apart times, being set apart in your food and also your drink and such like, because these things point us to the Messiah. When he comes, it's going to bring us to his fullness. And the book of Ezekiel says that he was going to be doing these things also. Remember, the book of Ezekiel says from one new moon. Isaiah says from one new moon. But Ezekiel says the temple will be open on the new moon, and also the Shabbat days. So all these things, these are mikra, rehearsals that we go through, and we rehearse these things to as footprints in the sand, so to speak, that will lead us to the Messiah. And when he comes, he will take it from that point, okay? And then when he finished his rule for 1,000 years, then there's a new beginning with the Father and the Son.
Right.
From that point, we don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, because it says that when the Father is here, we need no more light of the sun or the moon, because the Father himself is the light thereof.
Mm-hmm. So it says a shadow of things to come. The shadow helps us to know the time. When you stick a stick in the ground, the sun gives the shadows. It lets us know what time it is. The Shabbats let us know that we are one time or one moment closer to our Elohim. Okay? All right. So I hope that helps a little bit.
Let me just say also, Brother Yonah, I'm not saying this is what this person is saying here, but sometimes this verse is used as you reference that is telling us that we should not observe Sabbath and new moons and so on. But what we fail to see also, if we interpret it that way, then we shouldn't be looking for food or drink either, because as the first things mentioned.
Yes.
Absolutely. If you go into verse 18, let no man beguile you of your reward. So you don't let anyone trick you out of your reward. And what does it say? And worshiping of angels. So my question is, what church worship angels? It says, no, we don't do that. We worship only Jesus. Okay, so there are certain things that some people are not versed on because they totally ignore the scriptures and they stick with the New Testament. Ask them to show you in the New Testament Christ without, or the Old Testament Christ, because the disciples themselves had to know about the Messiah to verify that he's the Messiah based on the Old Testament, not the New Testament. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So how do you prove the Messiah without a New Testament? We can do everything that we have to do without the New Testament. It is not necessary. It is just letting us. It's just a confirmation that the Messiah came, and letters written to the diaspora Hebrew community. That's all it is. Okay, borrowing from bits and pieces from the Torah itself and from the prophets. All right, so we don't have to lean on the New Testament. The Old Testament has everything that we need in there. Okay, everything. Yes.
Including the dream of Joseph, where he says, your father, the sun, and your mother, the moon, and your 11 brothers bow down to you.
The stars.
The stars. The 11 brothers.
All right. Ima, you have something, and then we're going to say shalom to the Mishpachah. So save your questions for next week or for the panel discussion. Yes.
One of the well-known preacher's son, the preachers say that the way how they is preach is if to find whatever is in the New Testament from the Old Testament, then their works on that.
Oh, I see.
If they don't find it in the New Testament from the Old Testament, they leave it out. Such as like the food and so forth. They don't preach on that you could eat anything because it doesn't tell you anything, they shouldn't eat in the New Testament. So what he's doing, he's looking into certain little things in there that he's seeing in the Old Testament come over in the New Testament and preach that. That's how they're doing it nowadays.
Okay. Cherry picking. All right. Before I close, just to remind everyone, I sent out the email with regards to this Sun's Day. We're going to have a meet and greet part 2 for everyone. If you want to participate, just send me an email and I will know and chime you in. All right. With that said, Mishpachah, let us stop here. Brother Felix, thank you so much again for bringing out this class, and may the Most High bless you and your household now and forevermore, and also the rest of our Mishpachah. So with that said, Mishpachah, let's go ahead and close out with the Bezot HaTorah. Ait Kamhi, and we will say shalom. Okay. Bezot HaTorah. Ready?
Bezot HaTorah Asher Sayem Moshe Lifnei Yisrael Al Pei Adonai B'yad Moshe.
And this is the Torah that Moses placed before the children of Israel at the command of Yahuwah through Moses' hand. All right, it's time here.
Hayitayim hi lamakazikimba vetomekeha veosha virakeha dakenoam vetonativoteha shalom. Shivenu Adonai Eleka v'nashuva Kadesh Kadesh Yameinu Kadesh Yameinu Kekedem.
It is a tree of life to those who take hold of it, and those who support it are praiseworthy. Its ways are the ways of pleasantness, and all its paths are peace. Bring us back, Yahuwah, to you, and we shall come. Renew our days as of old. Hallelujah. Let's present ourselves, and I'll ask Kifa to close out with prayer as we go towards the throne, as face towards Jerusalem. Kifa.
Dear Father in heaven, at this time, we thank you for this day. We thank you for all that you have allowed us to have and the things that you have spared us from. We thank you for this blessings that you have placed upon our hearts and the fruits of our labor that you have placed within us and a reach that we give it to you back in blessings. Remember all those that have listened and have been on the air that participated, the blessings of those that are able to bring this class to us and his household. We ask, Father, that you lay upon the hearts of all those of the house of Israel. We pray for the peace of Jerusalem, the sick, the poor, and those that are in need. And at this time, for those that are not able to be here, Father, we pray for them likewise. Our brothers that are far and our sisters that are far across the lands and the seas, we pray for them. Remember the peace of Jerusalem and the whole house of Israel. As we give you praise and thanks, we ask, Father, that you remember us, make the time short. Remember the promise, and keep us. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Hallelujah. Yivarech Adonai b'shmarecha, Yahayonai panabaka b'kunecha, Yisa Adonai Bahana belaka v'yasem lecha shalom. Yahuwah bless you and keep you. Yahuwah make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. Yahuwah lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Shabbat shalom, family.
Shalom.
Shabbat shalom. May the Most High bless and keep you all. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Remember to look out for the moon at the setting of the sun. Shalom, shalom. Brother Yosef, I'll be talking to you in 2 minutes.